Well, hello there and welcome to this video. This is a pre-recorded video as opposed to my normal live recorded video. My name is Matt Petrowski, and in this video, what we're going to be taking a look at is a break from our series, and that is we're going to be taking a look at adding a new theme to our FileMaker file. So stick with me, we'll be on my desktop in just a few. Alrighty, so what do we have for this lesson or this video? There's always something more to learn about FileMaker. Now, you've been learning from me for probably the past couple of months if you've been following all of my series here on YouTube. And of course, I've got to make money. There's got to be some way. But rather than charging for this beginner intermediate content, I already have the FileMaker magazine website. I've been working on something that I think will benefit you. I've been working on a collection or a number of themes designed as a wonderful starting point for you to start your FileMaker solution and basically just hit the ground running, rather than working with what FileMaker already has. What am I talking about? Let's take a look. So in my copy of FileMaker here, I have a copy of the file that we've been working on for this series. It's a time track theme. Now, it's a time tracking database, and as you can see, I've been doing nothing but throwing garbage onto this layout the whole time. Well, I mean, I wouldn't call it garbage. It's the fields that we need, but this definitely does not have a very attractive look. And part of what I want to do is walk through the whole process of how to design a good user interface. Now, designing a good user interface is much different than just getting a theme. You can get a theme, and the theme may help you, it may not help you, but it's the starting point for you to start to craft your FileMaker solution. Now, the videos I'm going to provide are completely based around how do you design a good user interface, but in this video, we're taking a look at how you implement a theme. So let me show you something that I've been working on. As I switch here to these items, I'm going to go to first Seaweed Forest. Then I'll go to Seaward Sunset. Then I'll go to Gemstone Circus. And then I will go to Desert Oasis. Now, this is just 4 of 25 themes that I'm going to have ready at a website that I'm going to be announcing this coming Monday. And if you're watching this video and coming Monday doesn't mean anything to you, the site's probably already released, but these themes are going to be available at a dedicated website. Now, what I need from you is I need information about how valuable or useful this might be. So I'm going to walk you through the process of how easy it is to integrate this theme and also give you some tips about why I take this approach. Now, when it comes to theming, let's look at what FileMaker has. And I'm going to hide each of these just so that we're not distracted. So we'll hide that one. Hide that one. We're going to install these themes and take a look at how easy it is to start to theme a new FileMaker or a existing FileMaker project or a new FileMaker project. Now, what I have here is my database, and getting a theme into this file is going to be really easy, but let's take a look at what FileMaker provides. FileMaker in version 15 and maybe even 14 started FileMaker 12 is when they released the themes. And when we go into layout mode on a file, we can always see what the theme is by taking a look at this area right here. I can see on this layout that the theme is enlightened. Now, the way that FileMaker's theming system works is you have a theme that's put into a FileMaker file, and then that theme can be used on a layout by layout basis. So you can have 50 different layouts, and 10 of them can have one theme, and another 10 can have another theme. It's completely up to you. Typically, you tend to choose one theme and use it across the whole solution because it consolidates all of your styles into one place. Now, this enlightened theme right here, if I choose this little icon and this comes up, what I get is a list of all of FileMaker's themes. Now, the difficulty you have here is I'm in working FileMaker 16. Look at the scroll bar. It's not very long. Now, this is no slight on FileMaker. In fact, as I mentioned in 15 and earlier, they had a lot more themes, but they decided to take a lot of them out. I'm guessing it's because they didn't want to have to manage and maintain the number that they had, which was something like, 15, 20 or more. I'm guessing they don't want to manage that many because they're managing both the regular versions and the touch versions. So that means they're managing 2 different themes. one for mobile and one for not. Now, here we've got, let's count them off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're not going to count these. 6, 7, 8. So a total of 8 themes to choose from FileMaker. Any of the touch versions don't really apply because they're just simply larger versions, as we can see, of the original version. Now, Minimalist is super basic. It's just plain and white, and you can't do a whole lot with it. Cool and Warm, they're okay. Enlightened is the one that FileMaker defaults to, and Enlightened Print is really for printing, so we can't use that for the user interface. So in terms of selection, we don't have a whole lot within FileMaker. So I decided to solve this problem and do it by creating a number of themes, but I did it based on some standard formats. So let's take a look at getting this theme into this FileMaker file. There's 2 ways that I can do this. The first way is to go to the File menu and choose Manage, and then I can choose Themes. Now what this is going to do is bring up the Manage Themes dialog box. It tells me all of the themes that are in use and how many layouts use that theme that we can see right there. When I import from this dialog, I'm getting the theme from another FileMaker file into this file, but I haven't set it to a given layout yet. That we can do on the other area, which is the second option or the second way that we can import. So I'm going to import one of my themes right now. Out of those, I'll take Desert Oasis. I like that one. I'll click Open. Now, when I get this open dialog box, I'm now presented with the ability to import the theme. Now, if this file had multiple, then I would have a list of all of those. There's really only the one because it's best to focus on one. So when I click OK, that theme's now been imported into my FileMaker file, and I'm ready to start using it right away. I can change any layout to this particular theme. So I've got the 11, and I'm probably going to change at least one here while I'm recording this video. But there's one additional step that I take when I integrate a theme, and it is this. I'm going to go open that window of the Desert Oasis. I like to have one central layout, and that layout acts as my repository, if you will, or my location where I can see all of my styles. I like to see what I have available within my theme. So as I open this up, you're going to see that I've got a ton of styles integrated in here. Now, it takes a lot of time to create these because one of the biggest difficulties that you have with FileMaker is you have to account for all of the different states and all of the different variations for all the different objects that you want to have. Now, let's walk through this really quickly. So first off, I've got this grids and info area. Then next, I have defaults. These are all the default settings for all of the default FileMaker objects. Next, I have our transparents. These are things that maybe you didn't even think you need, but inevitably you end up wanting a FileMaker object, a layout object, whether it's a field or a tab or what have you, and you don't want it to have any styling because you want to be able to use it as an invisible object or a transparent. But then we've got these buttons and labels, all standard. We've got button bars. Those came about in FileMaker 15, I think. I've got typography. I've got all kinds of different extras that we can go over. But let's take a look at what I do. Now, I've already integrated this theme into my file, and I can simply select right here to switch off of the Enlightened theme to the Desert Oasis. Now, what I've done is I've thought about this. What are the things that are most difficult when you're theming? Well, it's taking the time to pick your colors, taking the time to add all of those different variations into the theme. Then when you have objects like buttons and button bars, adding all of the different states and styles to them. That's the hover, the pressed, and whatever. That takes a lot of time. I wanted to save people the time from having to do that. So as I switch this theme to Desert Oasis, it makes it look pretty plain right here, but I'm able to start styling my objects really quickly. I show the inspector, and I go to the Styles area, which is the second tab right here. And here's where I can choose all of my different colors. Now from here, I can do whatever I want to do. You can see that when I select on this header part, look at what I have integrated into the file. I have 5 primary colors, but then what FileMaker does is when we look at a given color, for example, if I go to the design area here and I make a selection, FileMaker has these additional darks and light variations. So when I add a color in FileMaker, just a single color, like this orange right here, and I drag it, you can see that what FileMaker is doing is FileMaker is adding the dark variation and the light variation. Now, it would be nice to have those in the theme, and that's what I've done. I've basically made it so that the 5 primary colors, all of their dark and light variants are integrated in a number of ways in this theme file. So let's zoom out and take a look at this. With this header, and I go into the styles, you can see that I have not only the primary colors of the colors that have been chosen for this file, and they complement each other, but also the dark variations. So I can go any one of the dark variations that almost pretty much exactly match FileMaker's variations of the dark and the light. I've even included some light faint variants. You can see that I've got a faint, 3 and 2 and what have you. This makes it really nice for styling the whole of a FileMaker solution. So I'm going to set this one to part color 1, and then from there I can choose all kinds of different options. For example, look at what we have over here. In the theme file, I've got font biggest, font bigger, font big, normal, small. It basically works like this. We start at the middle, which is font normal, then we go up in bigger sizes, and we go down. But here's the cool thing about FileMaker's theming. If you don't like to use the names that I've chosen to use in these theme files that I'm going to make available, all you have to do is rename them. So for example, this account name right here, when I zoom in and I choose to say, I want this to be font bigger, what I can do is I can additionally style these to give it the unique attributes that I want. Since I can't anticipate what you're putting in your FileMaker database, I basically have to say, okay, I'm going to give you the base style, and then you're going to enhance it as desired. So let's pick a different color for the header. I'm going to pick, let's say, this dark purple that's in this theme. And I want this new font, which is currently set to font bigger, to be a reversed version. So what I suggest is if you're going to start with one of these starter themes I'm providing, is you go to the design area, and what you do is you modify or slightly tweak the object. So in this case, I want to make this object just one little aspect different. I want to make it white. And let's say maybe I want to say it, make it bold as well. Maybe a little bit strong for this particular area, but I could make it smaller if I wanted to. I'm pretty sure you know how to style in FileMaker. But all I have to do here is, it's still the style of font bigger, and FileMaker shows me that the style has been changed. Now I could save this style, but I don't want to replace font bigger. I want to be able to select font bigger and also be able to go back to the previous style or go to my new style. So all I have to choose is this option, Save as New Style. And with the way that I've named the styles, hopefully it's pretty easy to follow along, because in this regard, all I type is font bigger reversed strong. So I just apply the additional attributes that identify this particular font. And so now if I want to change the look of this, and I, of course, am going to choose this option right here to save changes to the theme, which updates the Desert Oasis theme, and now makes it more of my own theme. But if I wanted to, I can select this header part and go back to the part color 1 and select this and just go back to font bigger. And I really have the degree of control that allows me to very quickly theme things. This button project right here, I can select it and say I want button gradient 1, or I don't really like how that looks. I can select a couple. Well, that's a good little complementary color right there. Or I can choose button primary. All of these styles have been done for you. And the cool thing is, on each of these objects, when you take a look, we've taken care of the hover, the pressed, and the focus, according to your most conventional standards. Now, most of the time, and I'll talk about this in the design videos, when you go from a normal state to a hover, you want something that's just very subtle. Let's go into browse mode and take a look at what I'm talking about. So I don't want to do a super strong change. I just want to give a slight indication that this button is active. And of course, when I click it, I want to get that nice change. Now, the cool thing is, that's been done on all of the different possible objects where those states apply. So here's what I do, because I don't want this video to run all day long. I copy this layout into my theme. I copy this whole structure into my FileMaker solution so that I have one single place in my FileMaker solution where I can manage the whole look and feel of my entire database. That's where I go to make my changes and my adjustments. So here's how I get it into my file. I've already imported the theme into this file. I now just need to get the layout into this file, and that's going to be easy. I go over to the theme that I'm going to be providing. I open up the defined database and I go to the tables. I select on the theme and then I choose the copy option right here. I copy the table. So I do add a table to my database for the purpose of theming. I go to my solution, the time track here. I open that up, I select and click in the white area, and then I click paste. So I now have that table. Now adding the table doesn't really bother me, and of course if you have a theme table that already exists, FileMaker will rename this to FileMaker Theme Copy or Theme 2, I believe. But there's really only one other thing that I need to copy and paste, and it only applies to FileMaker 16, and that is the value list. So over here in the themes, the reason I need the value list is you can see the widgets right here, just the checkboxes and the radio buttons. Those need a value list in order to render. And again, the whole point of having this theme layout is so that I can test things out. I can look at the changes when I tweak the theme. So I'll go to Manage Value Lists. There is a theme value list. Now here's the trick with these theme files that I'm going to be providing. Everything that you put into your file, it's all just named theme. So it's a theme table, a theme value list, a theme layout, and a theme table occurrence. And that's all you really need. As soon as you paste the table, the theme table occurrence is already taken care of for you, and the layout may even be created. So with this value list copied onto my clipboard, and this only works in FileMaker 16, by the way, the ability to copy and paste value lists. Otherwise, if you have an older version of FileMaker, what you're going to need to do is when you go to manage value lists in your file, you would simply just click the new button and you would click create a new value list that would be theme. So I'm going to paste it here in FileMaker 16, but if you don't have FileMaker 16, maybe you have 14 or 13, and 14, by the way, is required. I've set that as the minimum. You would just create theme and then you would just put in your values of whatever you want. The values really don't matter. You can have whatever you want. It's just for the purpose of being able to display them here while you test and work with the theme. So I'll cancel this for right now because I've got the value list. And the rest is basically getting this layout into this file. Now I can see if FileMaker added the layout for me. I can see if it added the table occurrence. I'm pretty sure it did. I'm going to go to my relationships and yep, FileMaker added the theme. I don't do anything at this point in time. I don't have to rename it. I just leave it as is. I'll just put it off to the side. That's good. And I go to my layouts, my manage layouts with Command-Shift-L. And look at that. FileMaker, when I added the table, FileMaker did everything for me. It took care of adding the table occurrence and it added the layout. All I have to do is open this layout or switch to it. So I'm going to switch to it. Right here, here's my theme layout. Now, one thing that I do in my files is I go into the manage layouts, and this is definitely for me as the developer. I'm the one theming the solution. This isn't something the user ever sees. So I move the theme all the way up to the top, and I, of course, uncheck and make it so that it can't be seen. Here in my sample file, I'm basically just leaving all layouts accessible so that we can get to them while we're developing the file. But with that, all I need to do is copy, because now the table occurrence matches, the layout matches, everything matches. There's no scripts, and the value list matches. So when I copy from the theme file and paste into my file, everything will just transfer over smoothly, and I'm ready to start appending or modifying the styles. So I'll go into layout mode here, and I'm going to get rid of everything that FileMaker adds by default. Got rid of that. One thing you'll notice is that the parts in the theme file don't match. Top navigation was added, I think, in FileMaker 14. That's probably why I have it set to be the requirement. But all I have to do is mirror what I have in the theme file. So I'm going to use the inspector, and I'm going to go to the first area, the position tab, and I'm just going to make note of the sizes. So the top navigation is 96, and I select the header, and it's 48, and I select the body. That's a larger number, so I'm going to copy that one. I copy that, and over here, I just double-click on the header, make that a top navigation. I will drag a new part out with the part tool. I'll say that's going to be the header. I just have to remember those values. I select on the top navigation, make it 96. Now, again, this isn't, once I imported the theme, I was ready to go. I was ready to start using it as is. That's how easy. Click import, target the file, import the theme, you're done. You're ready to go. The only reason I'm showing you this is because I think this is really valuable to have a central place in your FileMaker file where you can reference all of your themed objects. And I highly suggest that as you add new styles, you put them on this layout. That's why this is such a great starting point. So I'll paste that value of that 1392 and resize everything out. Only thing I need to do is now switch this layout off of Enlightened to use Desert Oasis. And again, just because I named it Desert Oasis doesn't mean that you have to keep it named Desert Oasis. You can rename this theme to whatever you want to call it. You can rename all of the styles to whatever you call it. The whole point of these themes is just to get you going quickly without having to do a lot of work. Basically all the colors and the styling. So with that, I select over in my theme, I do a Command A or a Control A, I copy that, and then I come over and I just paste it. And if everything works like it should, I'll select my top navigation. These are really the only two changes, is that's part color 1 and part color 2 for the header if you want it to look exactly the same. Also, one thing that won't come over is the button bar. The button bar is specific, obviously, to navigation within the theme file itself. Over here, it doesn't make sense, so I can get rid of that and not have it. Well, I deleted just the one button part. Now I've got the whole button bar, and I can get rid of that off of the layout. But as I zoom out here, what's really cool is I can go into browse mode now, and everything that came from the theme file, all of the layout elements that are helpful for me and any other developer to reference about the theme are right here. And of course, I can add the additional styles. So I created a style. Let's go see where that style might be. I do need to resize the layout so that it's much wider, but that's really easy to solve. Drag out there and drag it all the way out. Of course, you can drag this and just continue to add your own styles. In fact, let's look at some of the extra styles, but that font, remember that font bigger we were working with? Well, what I will do is now that I've modified this theme, I will take a copy of this, and I'll probably put this down here. Now, again, I don't know, based on your design needs, that I should try to come up with all the different possible styles, all the different reverse, bold, every combination. So I thought I'll just give you the base element, and then you can style or enhance as needed. So the option that we took by making the font bigger, reverse, strong, I can put that on the layout. Of course, in this situation, it doesn't work well, but here's how I would solve that. I would simply just copy this over to another area of the layout. And then I would probably since I can't make a column of text have a solid color, I would just select a text object, or excuse me, a rectangle object, and I would give it any one of the colors that I want. You can see that I have all the different swatches here, even included the hex values on these. So I'll go with swatch 1, and I will send that to the back, which I just did with a shortcut key, and I will just rename this to what it is. I'm doing a sloppy job here, but reversed strong. And so just taking the time to do this, I have found makes it so much nicer, especially if you deal with multiple monitors, because you can have the theme window open on one monitor, reference that as you design in another window, which is your user interface. It's just really, really helpful. So let's look at a few other things before I make this video way too long and see what else we've got in the theme. So I've got a few headers. I don't know what you're going to want in your file, so I've got a primary header, a portal header, underlined. A search box is very common. In fact, the search box itself is wired up and ready for a script trigger of the on-object save. Typically you use a global field, and you would be able to wire up your own script on that. But we've got the left, the middle, the right. In fact, you can see in the inspector here, as we select, we've got the search left, then the search middle, then the search right. We've got solid tabs, outline tabs, iOS looking tabs, button bars that actually have spaces between them. And again, with this one object, in order for me to get a different colored object, all I have to do is change the attribute. It doesn't work on these two objects, but it does work on these button bars. So I select the button bar, I click on the segment, I say I would like one of the other colors that are used. I'd like a purple version of the button bar, and I'd like the text to be a nice purple color as well, and maybe bold. And so now I've got a different variant of this particular object that was already styled for me and already named for me. And I simply just select here. Now be careful, don't save changes current style, because that would then wipe out the style. You have to choose save as new style. And I would call this now, what did I call it? Button bar spaced. And I tend to do this color 5 and think about the colors in that terms, but I could easily call this purple. I try to stay away from attributes, but it's something that I can do. And now I have that. So I can switch. I'll save the theme itself. I can switch between those by just selecting, say, oh, I've got button bar spaced, which is that one, and button bar spaced purple. This is such a big time saver. I have found that now I'm able to go to one of my theme files and I just import that theme, and I'm pretty much designing really, really quick. And there's going to be other videos that I'm going to do when we focus on designing a good user interface. So in this solution, the time track, I'm going to import one of the themes, and we're going to be able to go through using this theme and designing the user interface and making this solution look as beautiful as possible. But for right now, that's all I wanted to just show you, give you a little glimpse in terms of what's going to be coming, that's going to be available. I'd like your feedback. What would you consider helpful when you're theming in FileMaker Pro? What is it that you find where you're spending the most amount of time? Is it setting up all of the styles, and is it picking the colors? Is it, are there common styles that you use that maybe once you get hold of the file, you say, you know what, I really use this style a lot. Let me know, because I really can't account for everything. I've got label left, label centered, label right, and then bottom aligned versions, but I didn't do top versions because in my design, most of the time, I'm either at the bottom or in the middle. But do you use labels up at the top? What are styles and how do you style? And what do you see about this file that might be helpful to you, or things that you would like to see in a file like this as I get ready to release these themes? So I think I've pretty much exhausted my time on today's video. Of course, because I'm not shooting this live, we aren't going to have the questions that come in via the chat. But of course, if you have questions, please post them down below. Leave your comments, whatever you have to say. If you're excited about this, if you think this is a dumb idea and you're just content with your own theme and you would never consider this, go ahead and put that too. I am interested in finding out what you as a FileMaker learner, a FileMaker developer, a FileMaker user is interested in with regards to themes. So with that, I think I'm going to wrap this video up. Wish you much luck and see you in the next video. So until then, happy FileMaking.